Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Sony is going to offer some things in their new service, their new tiers. I'm going with the PlayStation Premier tier, and one of the things that they're talking about are game trials. Now, no one offers that. GamePass doesn't have that, and I think it's a unique way of getting people to try things while still paying for them, as opposed to just renting games, because at some point, developers are just not willing to put their big investments, their big $300 million third-party or first-party investments day and date in a service, because they may not be getting a big enough check from Sony and or Microsoft to offset that revenue that they'd get if they would have just left it on the market and sold it. And clearly, that is an issue. So for Sony, game trial seems like the answer. Now, the article, which I'll link in the description below, says, quote, Sony has begun communicating with developers about its plans for timed game trials for PlayStation Plus premium subscribers. So in order to get these trials, you've got to be a premium subscriber, which is $120 a year. It's cheaper than Game Pass, which is $180 a year. Now, you can break that down monthly and say it's more, but who pays for these things month to month? According to sources speaking to game developers, the developers working on games that cost $34 or higher are now required to create timed limited game trials of their games. These trial versions must be at least 2 hours long. Games that cost lower than those amounts are not required to create limited time trials, according to the policy. The plan follows Sony's announcement for expanded subscription options for PlayStation Plus. Many developers were informed about the new policy via an update to Sony's developer portal. One source indicated that they had not received any other communication about this change. The good news is these requirements are not retroactive and do not apply to upcoming PlayStation VR titles. The less great news is that if you're a developer planning to release on the PlayStation Store in the future, you now need to budget time and resources to create these new timed trials. There is some flexibility, though, as part of Sony's policy. Developers have up to 3 months after the game launches on the PlayStation Store to release their timed trials. Trials are also only required to be available to PlayStation Plus premium users for at least 12 months. So a developer has 3 months after the release, and the trial only has to be available for a year. Now, the article goes on to say that if your game is hovering just over the $34 price mark, you're probably working with fewer resources than your competitors, and 2 hours may be a significant chunk of your game's content. But savvy developers can maximize those trials into opportunities to acquire new players, but with no promise of payout at the end, it could be a risk bringing a lot of work for limited payoff. So essentially, they're not going to pay people to put the games into their subscription service, come up with some arbitrary number, what you may have made if you sold the game, and it could always be more or it could be less. It's a gamble taking that check outright. So they're saying, put it in here for 2 hours, let people try the game, and let them make the decision to purchase the game fully being $34 all the way up to $60 or $70. A scan of the PlayStation Store shows that very few games are strictly sitting at the $34 mark, so the group of developers most impacted by the policy are those releasing games at $39.99 tier. A number of single-player games from mid-sized developers dominate the list, including Spider Studios' Greedfall, Asobo's A Plague's Tale, Innocence, and Ember Labs' Kena Bridge of Spirits. I myself would have loved 2-hour trials of those games. I think that would go a long way into giving people an idea of what those games are and also alleviate the pressure of spending $40 to $70 on a title. The article also says that game demos have had a bit of a resurgence in the last few years, from prologues released on Steam to limited time demos offered during events like Summer Games Festival or Valve's seasonal Steam game festivals. And it's interesting to see Sony revive them as a tier for high-rolling subscribers. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.